Oh my goodness. Happy Tuesday.
Hey.
Good morning. You got your cute little summer haircut.
I do. I've been gone for what, 2 weeks now, right? No, just one.
Spring break.
They say that a woman who cuts her hair will change the world.
Mm-hmm. Cuts or colors.
And I was here on time because it didn't take me an hour and a half to blow dry my hair.
She didn't come in on 2 wheels today, guys. So on today's episode, we're going to dive back into mindset again. And the reason is because we can feel a little bit of a change in the market coming. And this is not to say that the market's getting ready to crash or it's turning back into a buyer's market or anything.
Oh my God, take cover
under the table. But
the sky is falling.
There is a shift beginning and it's becoming a little bit harder. And I think that it's a great time to talk about mindset a little bit more. And we're all very familiar with the term, like what you focus on expands, right? So what you believe impacts your real estate business and your personal life every day. So if you're having positive thoughts, then you're more likely to achieve success than if you just focus on negative things, right? So for a lot of people, it's just easier to focus on bad stuff. But I mean, if we just start the day with like, oh shit, like I stubbed my toe, I spilled my coffee, I hit every red light. Like if you just focus on that, you're like, I know it's going to be a shitty day already. And it just
So let's talk about how it did start out as a shitty day.
go for it.
So my
I
husband
love how you
snores
get like really close, like I'm
because it's a serious business.
telling a secret.
My husband snores and I don't sleep. So, But then I started my dogs not sleeping on my bed last night.
Okay.
It's not working. They cried all night long. So finally at like 2 o'clock, I kicked them out and put them in Molly's room. Okay, so everyone's tired.
Yeah.
So then I wake up and the freaking dog was like, oh, I can't sleep on your bed. Cool. I'm going to shit on the floor.
Teach you.
And then something else happened, but I don't remember what it was. But anyways, do you want to know how I changed my mindset?
Yes.
I put on a dress that hasn't fit for 2 years.
And it has pockets.
And it has pockets. And Dunkin' Donuts has their butter pecan flavoring back. So it is way easier to find happy things than shitty things.
Well, you know what? And I think at the end of the day, everybody truly does want to be happy, but it's really hard to get out of that. So a little bit later in today's conversation, I'm going to put Athena on spotlight and let her, answer some questions and help with that. Because, as we've talked about on a few past episodes, Athena likes to quit real estate so often. So, this will be the perfect time for her to tell everybody like how she comes back to real estate, how she overcomes that, I think, right? So, mindset for real estate agents is a lot because, it's a very, we talk about all the time, it's a very high low. It's very, very intense. The highs are very extreme highs. You feel on top of the world, you're making good money, but then the lows can be so, so low and depressing. And it can be very easy to get caught into those moments. And I mean, if anybody says that they never are, they either are too new into real estate or they're lying.
Well, I think that very few people know how to navigate change.
Yes.
And that's in anything. Like that could be, your routine. It could be going to school. Like any type of change is hard for 99.9%. And like you just said, if you say it's not, then you're lying.
Yeah.
Nobody likes change because it's not comfortable. And I think that that's the hardest part is that real estate is a constantly changing career, no matter what. So I think that's why it's so easy to fall into that different mindset because right when you think everything's going the way it's supposed to be and you get on, you're on board, everything's going the way it's supposed to, everything's great, you know what you're doing, bam, you don't have a fucking clue what you're doing anymore because it all
and I think
overnight.
Last week it was, right? Where you were like, I literally think like everything I know about real estate is like not true.
This was my exact quote because I still I think it was my exact quote. Yeah. Everything I fucking thought I knew about real estate, I don't know anymore.
Right.
That is scary. It's not that I can't go learn it. Sure, I can go learn it, but that doesn't, and I will go learn it, and I am learning it, but that doesn't make it any less scary.
Right. 100%.
Because this isn't, real estate, while it's always changing and we're always learning, we also rely on this as our income.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think the right mindset is especially important during critical times. Overcoming your problems and really depends on your approach to them. There's going to be problems. There's going to be shitty days. There's going to be, days where your dog shits on the floor. I mean, that's just life, right?
I didn't step in
it. Everyday life. So let's take a little bit of time and talk about like what is a good mindset? Like how do you get there, right? And so I think that, having a good mindset is a growth mindset. It's adjusting. It's you can't sit and focus like Athena was just saying about how like you think you know everything and then you don't. The part of like overcoming that feeling is being open to growth, open to the change of your day. If your day starts out shitty, it's how you change it and not focus on that, right? So let's talk a little bit about, becoming to a good mindset and what that looks like. Because it means whatever you're doing, you should believe in achieving the success of whatever that looks like, success in your life, your business, and a happy mindset. So, you should believe in your strengths and your possibilities. You are the first person that is important in your life, right? Like besides your friends and your family and everybody else, it's you. You're the one that can control your mindset and your attitude and your happiness when it really comes down to it. So you have got to, focus on yourself a little bit more. And you have to just always say, like, there's another option. Like, I don't have to be upset. I don't have to be angry. There is choices, and you make that decision of how, you move forward with that. If you believe that you're in control of your destiny, then you're able to, control that success and achieve that. And, I'm not saying that you can't, have bad thoughts or bad feelings, because that's going to happen. That's 100% normal. It's what you do with those thoughts and feelings that will really make the difference. Okay.
Yeah. Anybody who is in real estate and has been for more than an hour knows like what lab coat agents is, right? So, and I think it was lab coat agents. It was one of the big groups.
Yeah.
But there was this big post the other day about toxic positivity. Which toxic positivity is basically like where you refuse to believe that anything is wrong. So like,
it's like the opposite.
You have to find the balance. Like you can't, yes, you have to be in control of your emotions and make sure that you don't fall down this well of depression and anxiety and everything else. But at the same time, if you live in this world of everything is okay 100% of the time and I'm untouchable and, as long as I believe it, like you have, my words aren't coming to me right now. You have to take the time to feel even the bad emotions.
Yes.
Because if you don't feel the bad emotions, you can't celebrate the good ones.
Yeah, you have to be realistic about it, right? And I mean, not everybody's a crier, okay? Like
I wonder what that's like
for most people. But, I mean, we're going to talk about this a little bit of, like how to, change this and stuff. But I think this is right on key with what Athena is saying is it's okay to, have negative thoughts. It's okay to be jealous. It's okay to have imposter syndrome. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be pissed off. But you have to have some sort of process where you accept those feelings and then you get the fuck over it and move on, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you have to cry, if you have to scream, if you have to throw your pillow, if you got to kick something, whatever it is for you, do it and then give yourself the time to be in that feeling and then move on from it. Because if you just sit there and you dwell on it, it's going to continue to pile up, right? Like that's all you're going to focus on. That's all you're going to feel. And then it's literally so easy. And like I was saying earlier, to focus on the bad and just keep going. Because when something bad happens in real estate, for example, like what if your buyer backs out like the day before closing, right? You have already spent that commission check. Like you've already planned where that was going to go. So now you're set up for this failure. Well, then, some sort of pandemic happens and now your kid has virtual school and then it's pouring and raining and your roof has a leak in it. I mean, it's literally, it just goes. And instead of, just focusing on all of the crappy stuff that keeps happening, you have to take the time to be like, okay, well, now we got to fix it. It's here. We got to move on. nothing is going to be solved by sitting there and complaining about it and being upset. But if you turn around, you're like, okay, well, how are we going to fix the hole in the roof? What are we going to do for the kids to be on Zoom? What are we going to do for this? And just start moving on. When you're solving those problems, you're going to feel like you can achieve the world, and you're going to be happy that you're moving forward. It's not going to be easy. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not hard, but I'm the person that, like, I can't dwell too long on it. Like, I'm instantly like, okay, how can we fix it? What can we do? And I think Athena sometimes does like, that's not her initial reaction, is like, okay, what can I do to fix it? And like, that's not my husband's reaction either. He was like, oh, well, we need new windows. Crap, what are we going to do now? And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do them ourselves, and we're going to watch a YouTube video and find out how to do it. And he's just like, I don't know what we're going to do. And that's, that's a lot of people's mindset. But I'm like, well, that's not going to solve it. So what are we going to do? But then I'm also like super emotional and cry like over like other stuff that, most people don't. So, I mean, we all have some sort of imbalance somewhere, right?
Yeah. And I was doing some research online. And by research online, I was watching TikTok.
Yeah.
And this guy was talking about how the people who are more like Tony and I, right? Like the more reserved, like, well, shit, this is wrong. Like, we're more of like this.
We're screwed. Yeah.
We take a step back more and like look at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
And what the guy was saying is that a lot of people who do that, they do that because when we were growing up, right? Like, it wasn't really okay to be wrong. Like, remember like when you were in school and you gave an answer and you were so confident, like it was like the teacher's like, hey, what's 8 + 6? And you're like, I know, it's 12. And they're like, no, it's not. And you felt like an asshole.
Yeah.
So it's like a learned behavior that when you're wrong about something, that you protect yourself.
Yeah.
And you protect yourself by overthinking and overanalyzing.
Yes.
Because you know what it feels like to be wrong and you don't want to be that way. So I think a lot of times when you take such a giant step back, it's also not the best thing. And I think that's what we're talking about today, is finding that happy medium.
Right.
Because when you take that giant step back, you start to think about every little thing that can go wrong. So like, let's go with the windows. Okay. So we have to have new windows. So Jess was like, okay, let's go on YouTube. I'm like, yeah, but what are you going to do when the screws don't come in? And then when the screens don't fit, what are you going to do? And then this, because in some people's heads, you have to know what the whole picture is before you move forward. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, because there's so much what if. This has already gone wrong. So why wouldn't this go wrong too?
Right. It's just going to keep happening.
Yeah. So that happy medium really is important. And I think it's really cool. And I like that we're doing this because it's cool to learn how other people are, because I think that you can take that back and find out, like, if you're having trouble with another agent and they're not communicating with you correctly, or maybe you're not communicating with them correctly, because you have to look at it from both sides, right? Maybe that's why. Maybe they're saying, nope, I'm not going to go to my seller about this, because you're like, well, it's just something little. Like, just go ask them if they'll fix the gutter downspout. And they're like, no, I'm not going. Because in their head, they're like, if I go tell them this is wrong, then this will come, It's kind of cool just to know how different brains work, I guess.
Or I'm not going to go until I have a solution to the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's my thing, is like, I don't tell anybody there's a problem until I fixed it.
Yes.
But I mean, it is true. And especially, when it comes to mindset and stuff, I truly believe that no matter who you are, you can be the most positive person in the entire world, but that, it's something you have to work at all the time. And some people have to work at it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of people who, are not very emotional, or they appear to be like, have all their shit together on the outside, but could be a big old mess on the inside, and they just hold it all in. And then one day, poof.
Yeah, that's my husband. And then when you're like least expecting it, it's like,
oh, I had no idea.
Yes. And not to call him out, but when you're talking about that from a real estate perspective, that can be an extremely toxic trait.
Yes, and that can happen with buyers and sellers, and
Yeah, because you don't know when you have a good support system to go to somebody and say like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, or this is how this is going. If you don't have that support system, AKA the modern real estate agent coaching group,
yeah.
um, if you don't have that, you're gonna explode at the wrong time, and it could be a career ender for you.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
then they're gonna be like, oh my God, like all I did was ask her about this one fee and she exploded on me.
Mhm.
So
And it's really hard because um in our industry it comes with a lot more stress than, some jobs do. Like you don't just get to clock out and be over. It keeps going into your personal time and, 7 days a week. And that can be very hard. And it can be an emotional toll on a lot of people that, they just really can't have it. But having the majority of the space in your head being negative can really like weigh you down.
well, the negativity can take over way more. Like, you know how they say like, what's the what I'm looking at? Like the joke where it's like, what's heavier, like a pound of feathers or a pound of bricks?
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
But they're both like,
But
yeah,
this is one case where negativity really is heavier. Like
yeah.
you can have 3 negative thoughts and 3 positive thoughts.
And the negative will always
That
outweigh.
negative will always, if you can't come up with one more positive to outweigh the negative, the negativity is going to win.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how to have a good mindset. Let's do some, positive side of that
Tequila.
because, real estate, is such a really big, huge industry, but it also comes with a lot of opportunities, right? So, what you can focus on mostly for having a positive mindset is attitude. Okay. So, the way that you present yourself and everything is really going to be your main focus. And I think a lot too, um, just being happier, being more positive. Like, even if, that negative stuff is going on in there, will make you happier and more positive. Does that make sense? Like just, smile more. Like even if you're pissed off, just smile right through it. You can't help but kind of laugh at yourself sometimes. Um so how can we have, like a good attitude? So there's a lot of things that you can do. I wrote down, a few ideas for us. Um, I think the big thing is just give yourself some time to breathe, right? Every time you're facing a problem, just try to step back, take it in for a minute, think about it, and then, take a walk or do something that does make you happy. Listen to like I'm a big music person. I love it loud and happy and upbeat. And, if that makes you happy, then just drive around the block and blast your favorite songs. If you want to listen to some poems or read a book, go for a walk, whatever it is, just take that time and let your mind just be free for a little bit. Next is, just plan better for your future, right? So define and then aim for the future for you of what you need to do to make that work. So, like if you want to focus on your goals or, even if it's something small right now, think about, what that future would look like if you solve that problem so that it will help you get to that end goal. Think about what you should do to improve certain things in your life. Is there some kind of challenge that you have right now? Try to work on skills instead of saying that you can't do it. So a lot of times, like, okay, so a lot of people in real estate right now, which I don't really believe this and stuff, they think, that we're going to have a big, huge market crash. And there's going to be short sales and foreclosures and, all that stuff. So if you're totally freaked out about that shit happening right now, why don't you go to the NAR website and get your short sale and foreclosure certification and protect your business?
I want to get like some kind of like sticker, like how we can put stickers on our stories. I want to put some kind of like sky falling, so that every time you talk about a market crash, my sky falls on my screen.
Every time I throw all the bad stuff out there.
Can we go back and edit this later?
Yes, do it. Research
That'd
it.
be so funny. I will. Watch for my TikTok. I will figure this shit
Watch.
out.
So I have the short sale and foreclosure, but that's not because I think that that's going to happen, but it's just so that I have it as part of my alphabet soup after my name.
It's also because
It's a good thing to have.
we're kind of dinosaurs in the real estate market. So like, in
And
other
we
words,
like
we made it more than 5 years.
and we really like learning and education and that sort of stuff too. So
But when
anything
we first got our licenses, Jess has had hers a little bit longer than I have. But when we first got our licenses, foreclosures and short sales were a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of short sales and foreclosures.
My favorite transaction was a short sale.
Yeah, I love short
And
sales.
I still remember every detail about it. And I'm still really, really close with the buyers who purchased it. And it was for all the shit talk people get on short sales, it was literally, I had a great co-broke agent. The bank did everything they were supposed to do. It was a beautiful transaction.
Yeah, and if the market, shifts in that way at all, we will definitely do some episodes on short sales because I'm with Athena and it was probably some of the easiest transactions that I've ever done because you're working like with the bank and the bank is very black and white. They're like, this is what we want. This is what you got to do. And they don't have emotion in it. They're like, oh, my family grew up here. They don't care. They're just like, this is what I want for, my bottom line.
Yeah.
Easy. So the next thing on my list is to appreciate your own work and appreciate yourself. Like no matter where you are or what's happening, you've done some things that you've achieved that you should be happy for. And you need to remind yourself, where you started and where you are now. And then, like
that's also where a good tribe comes in too, because the last thing you want to do when you feel like shit about yourself is tell yourself, I mean, even though that is what you should do, and that's how to climb out of that hole, it's not going to be your first response. Mm-hmm. Your first response is not to be like, oh, my transaction fell apart. Wow, I'm a great negotiator.
Because then you'll just be shitty forever.
But Jess and I, like with our local team here, we have a group message, and very rarely does somebody say something like, somebody will say something and be like, oh, I messed this up or this didn't go the way. And usually the response back is, yeah, but remember ABC happened and you got an ice cream cone?
Yeah. And I mean, there's been, a bunch of different times over, the last several years where like we've, gone to lunch or, like just like a check-in and be like, like, how are you feeling? Or, there's been times, Athena's very honest with like, she takes a lot of stuff very personally in a different way than I do. Cause I'm an emotional wreck. We all know that. But Athena takes things very personally. Like if something goes wrong, she instantly thinks it's like her fault. So sometimes that's why she quits real estate that week. So I think this would be the perfect time to talk about, like how you come out of there, because what I was saying is, like we get together sometimes and we have like quality, check-ins. And, I remember last summer where I was like, hey, like, can we do lunch? Like, something's not right. So like, what's going on? Like, how can we fix it? And, can you tell everybody a little bit? I mean, I know that it's different, like every time that you feel this way. I mean, it's different every time any of us do, but like, how do you decide to not be that, to be like, okay, I'm back. I'm ready to kick ass.
Alcohol and childhood trauma experience. Well, like you said, it's just different every time because every situation is always different. And mostly for me, I am the type of person, and I know I'm not the only one out there. And I think that's why Jess and I like to do this, is because we like for people to realize that in real estate, you're not in a box.
Yeah, we're all very different.
Everybody's personality is different. And I don't care what personality test you took, you are who you are and your feelings are valid.
Yes.
Plain and simple.
Yes.
So I think that for somebody with a personality like me who does take things personally, taking the time to step back and give yourself just time to
Mhm.
process what happens, right?
Well,
Or
sometimes
to,
just time to wallow in your own misery, right? I mean,
yeah.
we all need
So
that.
something that Joe and I are trying to do a lot, because we have a
Mhm.
lot of things that are going on in our personal lives right now. Like, we have a lot of change. He's getting ready to retire from the Marine Corps after 23 years of service.
Yay.
Like, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, oh.
Scary.
So, and then we have a kid graduating high school next in 2 weeks.
Right?
We have one driving, and he thinks he owns the world. We have a daughter who's turning into a teenager. Like, just so much stuff,
So
right?
much
So much
chaos.
change. So something that we've talked about, because
Drinking, that's your best
it's,
option.
yeah, well, it's always the ones closest to you that um you just assume that people know what you want.
Yeah.
Like, if you're part of my world, you should know what I want, right? And that's a selfish way of thinking, but it really is the way that we think. So
Yeah.
something we've started to do is, like, if I call him and I'm like, hey, like, this is what I just dealt with this client, he will say to me, do you want a solution or do you want a bitch?
I like that.
And it makes me stop and think, because sometimes I don't know.
Right.
And sometimes I call thinking I want a solution, but I don't.
Yeah, and I think we, battle that a lot too, like, on our team and stuff is like, sometimes we're just upset or frustrated with a situation and just wanna complain about it, and you just want somebody to agree with you and not, like, solve it, and you're like, "I know what to do, that's not what I want right now."
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that we've started doing is, do you want a solution or do you want a bitch?
I like that.
And then it helps the other person understand
What
what their role in is. And
Yes.
and the best part is it actually takes a lot of pressure off of you, because you can stop and listen to what the other person is saying without automatically going into, like, save the day mode.
Yes.
Right? So then you can actually hear, "Thank you." You can actually, like, hear what they're saying. So that kind of went off topic, but what I was getting at is just having the right people in the right places at the right time.
Yeah.
Whether that's a business coach who can keep you from going down that little depression well,
Mhm.
um,
Or having the people that can hold you accountable like that are like, "Okay, like, you've had plenty of time to bitch and moan about this, and now, like, it's time to, like, be happy and get back to it."
yeah, yeah. So just having the right people at the right place and the right time.
But I also think, like, on the flip side of that and stuff is like Athena was saying, how like your friends and people that are close to you should know what you want. But if it's always changing, they don't. So, like, in order to help yourself and others, tell them.
Yeah,
If you're gonna call them and be like, "Hey, listen, like, do you have 5 minutes? Like, I just need to bitch." Just
yeah,
say that, get it out of the way, or call and be like, "Listen, I have a problem. Can you help me?" Like, prepare them. Let them help you because if they love you and they're there for you, that's what they want to do. They just need to know, what they're getting into in that
yeah.
conversation.
And I will say this over and over and over and over and over again. There is not one problem that a good lead can't fix.
She loves saying that one.
I do love saying it because it's true. You could be having the most shitty ass day, and, like, you could have quit real estate and the world is ending and nothing's going right. And then all of a sudden,
You get a
oh,
500
hey, we need to sell our house. We have to move in 30 days. Okay, my world is great again.
Bummer. I'll be right over. It's true though. I mean, especially but I will say, like, if you're in the mindset of like you're quitting real estate this week or right now and you're not happy with it and you hate it, you're like, oh, great. They haven't remodeled that house forever and it's gonna be a nightmare or something. But it's all in that mindset. Like if you take the mindset of Athena just said, then yes, it solved all your problems and you're ready to move on and stuff. So that brings me to my next thing is like sometimes we just need to learn to let things go. Like take that time, that I said earlier, like you have to dance it out, you have to scream, kick something, whatever it is, do it and then get over it and move on. Whatever time you need. If you need a day, you need a week, then you do that. But you have to be prepared to just put your big girl pants on and get back to life,
Or
right?
big boy pants. Where's our guys at today?
Yeah, I don't know. They're usually one of the most talkative ones in here. Maybe they're busy out there selling houses or something. So I have 3 awesome quotes that I want to say before we go. But Athena, do you have anything else that you
Yeah,
want
I have one last thing
to throw in?
that is like really just like a throw it in because it didn't really fit anywhere else, but I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to a podcast, and the way that it was explained in this podcast was really cool. So, and I think that we as real estate agents, like we can talk about mindset over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like
And we will. And we will.
I would say 80% of let's go 80-20 rule, because that's really what it, comes down to. God, we're a little red today.
Yeah.
It
was boat day Sunday.
I'm drinking. I meant the other red. I'm drinking coffee, not Kool-Aid.
Oh. I thought you meant sunburnt.
No, I am that too. Okay, so we talk about mindset over and over and over again. So why do we always get caught up in a poor mindset, right? Like if it's that easy, and if you can, but you go to these classes and they're like, oh, just change your mindset and your whole life will change.
Right.
Like
okay, cool.
Write it on your mirror that you're going to make $1 million and you'll make $1 million. So I like to know the inside of things. So what I thought was really cool about the way that this was explained yesterday is basically like in real estate, we have to set goals. If we're going to be successful, we have to set goals. That's the only way you're going to make shit happen. If you don't have a goal, you don't have anything to work for, and then you're going to sit at home or on the beach and you're not going to be lead generating. You're not going to be, doing the money making activities. So if you look at it this way, you have your goal up here at the top of the mountain and you're going to go on a hike, right? So you start here and everything's good because when you start out on your little walk, you have a map that's going to tell you where to go.
Right. You have nowhere to go but up, right?
Right. I mean, you're going to go up. You can literally see your goal right here.
Yep.
So everything's good. So you get on your trail and you start walking and you get halfway there. And you're like, wait a second, I haven't seen a marker in a while. Am I going the right way? Wait a second, I don't see anybody else. That person just went to the left, but I thought I was supposed to go to the right.
Right.
And you're in the middle, so you can't look up and see it anymore. That's when the mindset gets hard.
Yeah.
So when I heard that yesterday, I know that was long, I know that was drawn out. But when I heard that yesterday, it was really just cool to be able to put that into perspective. That you can be told over and over to have a good mindset. That's all you have to have is just a good mindset.
Easier said than done.
The reason why you don't is often because you can't always see when you're in the thick of it, into the thick of it. When you're in the thick of it, you can't see the top.
And even when you're surrounded with, other people that are in the same industry and your friends and stuff, everybody's situation is completely different at that time. And they're not in that bubble with you. So, right. I mean, last year was an emotional roller coaster for me. And it's hard. And I mean, we all go through our own things.
Yeah. But when you're in the middle, it's okay because that's where you're growing. Like that's where you're learning. That's where you're figuring out your life. That's where you're figuring shit out. You're figuring out what works, what doesn't. And the good part is that unlike being on an actual mountain and climbing it, like you really can't get lost in real estate.
Right. Or fall down the hill.
You cannot. And you can wear a lot cuter shoes.
And I think honestly, like the big takeaway that everybody should take today is like, you should be nicer to yourself. You know, like you're everybody's so hard on themselves, and that's what causes that negative, feeling and stuff because it feels like the world is crashing onto you. But if you could just take the time to self-reflect, like I am a badass, like I can get over this and I can move forward. You really need to start giving yourself a little more pat on the back, a little bit more credit because you're already got yourself to where you're going. You can do more.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for you, but you really can. And it's, a lot easier said than done because nobody understands your situation like you do. But at the end of the day, if you're just nicer to yourself and give yourself a little bit of encouragement, you really can pull through.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, we all struggle with this and some of us have to work a little bit harder for it. And that's why like on, some previous episodes and stuff, I'm like, listen, like I listen to music. It makes me really happy. I also have like motivational quotes that come through my phone multiple times a day. Okay.
Can I be honest for a second?
You
Speaking
don't
of
like
that,
them? You don't like
I
them.
turned that shit off.
Well, see, we're all different, but I like it. It's some of them are corny, but then other ones make me feel good.
Let me tell you why I turned that shit off.
What?
Because it kept telling me that
Oh God.
it kept telling me that I was sexy and I could do good things and I deserved love in my life. I'm like, yeah, I deserve love, but I don't want my phone telling me that I'm sexy. I already know I am. That was like the last straw for me when my phone said, "You're sexy. You deserve good relationships," or something like
Mine
that.
doesn't say that.
I swear to God, it did, and I was like,
You
"This
must
is
have selected a special option.
In hindsight, I could have gone and changed my settings, and I could have made it a little less. Maybe I was a little overzealous when I started because I think I had notifications coming to me like every 15 minutes.
Listen, I signed up for the Starbucks ones and they were like really cute. They come in on pretty graphics and everything. And it literally lasted like 2 days. And I've never gotten another one since. I'm not really sure what happened there once I signed up for them.
You probably had to pay to keep it going.
Yeah, well, they didn't even ask for money. So I don't know what their problem was. But just a little recap and stuff. Mindset. It's something everybody has to work on all the time. Okay. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to have negative thoughts. Take a time to feel them and be a part of them and then move on. Okay. So, some really good quotes that I found online: be miserable or motivate yourself. Whatever has to be done, it's always your choice. Wayne Dyer. Next, your limitation. It's only your imagination. And that's from success.com, which is one of our business partners. Next is nothing worth having comes easy. And that is from Theodore Roosevelt. So I hope that everybody enjoyed today's episode.
I have one more quote.
We'll continue to talk about mindset because it's always on our mind.
I have one more quote.
Do it.
You
Is it about a mountain?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Boom.
Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky.
I think that is a perfect one to end today's episode. Well, we love you and we are always here to support you if you are going through any hard, rough times or you need a good kick in the butt to help you move forward. We're always here for you. So shoot us a message at any time and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye, friends.